If, like me, you were born in the 1980s, there's a good chance Thomas the Tank Engine featured in your childhood. It's probably responsible for kickstarting my love of trains. Here I am in the late 80s wearing my Thomas jumper, playing with my railway. The television programme based on the Reverend Awdry's Railway series was beautifully made, full of charm, nostalgia and brightly coloured engines going about their business on the island of Solor. Even now, it still means a lot to me and brings back a lot of happy childhood memories. So when Rails of Sheffield and the Model Centre had a sale, I couldn't resist picking up a few Thomas bits for the G-Scale Railway. They're from the Bachmann Large Scale Thomas range, they're reasonably priced for G-Scale, well made and always popular when I run them on the layout. I picked up a Percy because he was one of my favourites as a kid, and I got him a couple of troublesome trucks to pull. But then I saw this, the Spiteful Brake Van. It looked pretty cool and I thought it would be a nice addition to Percy's train, but I couldn't remember this character from the show. Initially I assumed he must be from one of the newer animated episodes, which in my opinion don't really count as proper Thomas, but no. A quick search confirmed that the Spiteful Brake Van appeared in an episode from Series 2, simply titled Brake Van. So I watched it, and I was pretty shocked. And if you picked up on the spelling of brake, it might give you a clue as to what's about to happen. I always knew Thomas could be a little bit dark at times, but there's usually a happy ending. For example, pretty early in the show, Henry's bricked up in a tunnel, but they eventually let him out. In Series 4, Duke is left buried in a shed, but he's later rescued. There's the one where Scruffy the Wagon gets torn apart by Oliver, that's pretty brutal. But he's rebuilt, and apart from some PTSD, he's pretty much fine by the end of the episode. Smudger being turned into a generator's a bit rough, but at least he's still alive. The Spiteful Brake Van, however, something terrible happens to him and he doesn't come back. He's actually dead, never to return. And to make it worse, I'm pretty sure he's murdered. Here's what happened. The episode starts by explaining the Brake Van's taken a bit of a dislike to Douglas, one of the Scottish twins, which is completely understandable because they're complete b****s. And Douglas suspects the Brake Van is deliberately making him late. There's very little evidence for this, but the suspicion is enough to upset him. Then Donald, Douglas's brother, turns up and starts a fight.
Donald, his twin, was angry. "You're a muckle nuisance," said Donald. "It's to leave you behind I'd be wanting."
For some reason he's speaking a little bit like Yoda, but words are exchanged and then Donald, who clearly has anger management issues, rams the Brake Van and begins making threats.
"Take that! Oh, oh, oh!" cried the van. "There's more coming, should you misbehave."
And I think we can assume that these characters can feel pain because the Brake Van does cry out after being slammed into. Things then escalate. Donald, being an incompetent crashes into a signal box, which is totally unrelated to the Brake Van situation, and he's taken out of action. James, another engine with an attitude problem, takes over his duties but struggles with the trucks, and the Brake Van does encourage a little bit of mischief, to be fair. Douglas, sensing an opportunity here, offers to help by banking James up a hill.
"We'll show them," said Douglas.
And I'm pretty sure that's a threat. And he pushes so hard that the Brake Van is completely crushed, absolutely destroyed. And even when the van is breaking in half, Douglas's wheels are still spinning to inflict maximum damage. After this fairly brutal scene, Ringo Starr calmly tells us
No one had been hurt.
And immediately following that, there's a shot of the Brake Van's face, broken and lifeless, being lifted from the wreckage. So yeah, sure, no one was hurt there, Ringo. And to me, this clearly wasn't an accident. Douglas clearly knew what he's doing, and I think he'd been planning this for ages. There's really no getting around it. The Spiteful Brake Van was deliberately killed. And if the episode couldn't get any darker, all the while, there's a subplot running where the Fat Controller is only going to keep one of the twins on the railway, and he's effectively forcing them to compete for their place, knowing that their brother is going to be sent back and be scrapped. So what have we learnt? Well, if you didn't know who the Spiteful Brake Van was before, you do now. He was pretty much the innocent victim in all this, bullied, blamed and ultimately murdered. Donald and Douglas are a violent pair of thugs, but this is completely overlooked by everyone, and they end up both being allowed to stay in the next episode. And the Fat Controller enjoys mentally torturing the engines, and this isn't the first time he's done it, he does it a few times throughout the series. But I suppose this was the 80s and the North Western Railway probably didn't have a HR department to deal with these sorts of things. The Farquhar branch appears to be pretty lawless in general. Also, making this video, I have realised that the Fat Controller looks a little bit like a former MasterChef presenter, and given the lack of rules at this place, I think he'd definitely have been up to no good. Anyway, going off topic, as far as I'm aware, the Spiteful Brake Van is the only character in the whole series to be completely killed off. But his memory lives on here at the Malvern Seals Railway, alongside fellow Sodor abuse victim Scruffy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. If you've enjoyed this nonsense, then please subscribe to the channel and
There's more coming, should you misbehave.